Thanks, Jonathan, and thanks everyone for coming, and thanks very much to the People's Assembly for putting on this meeting. I think it's really fantastic that we're having a People's Assembly rally during COP. I think it's really important. So as other speakers have said, this is kind of a COP of two halves in many ways, isn't it? And then the one half, you've got the world leaders behind their kind of walls of police and barriers and so on, and they're kind of being predictably disappointed. You know, I don't think any of us went into this expecting that they were going to actually pull out a meaningful solution and save the planet. And, you know, yeah, that's fine. They fulfilled our low expectations. But on the other side, we have the absolutely fantastic actions that have been happening on the streets. We have the fantastic strikes that we've heard about, the RMT, the GMB, the hospitality workers and so on that we've talked about. We've had the amazing demo today, which was just absolutely ginormous. I really did not think it was going to be that big. And that has been so energising. And I think that's really given me more hope that I've had for many years, really, that we can actually turn this around by harnessing that power of the people on the street. And I think we shouldn't, that contrast between the leaders and the people on the streets, it's something we shouldn't underestimate, the extent to which actually this COP is showing a real crisis of legitimacy for our leaders. Because after all, you know, they're not denying that the climate crisis is here. They're no longer pretending that it's not happening. But they're in a position where, okay, they're saying, yeah, we face an existential crisis, and we can do bugger all about it. And that, you know, what are they for if they can't actually act on this? Really? So this is actually an existential crisis for them as well as for the planet. And we have to remember that, I think, and we have to allow that to give ourselves confidence when we're building the movement for genuine action on climate crisis. Because as we've seen, we cannot rely on the Tories to implement measures that will actually help. I mean, we know already, they've put out loads of papers recently, we know what they're planning to do, assuming that they don't actually anything at all. And what they're doing basically is saying, well, if you want low carbon solutions, you just have to go out as an individual and buy them. So hence they're talking about electric cars, because people can go and buy an electric car, and that's their answer. They're also doing a lot of magical thinking about carbon capture and storage, because that's their kind of get out of jail free card. And basically they're turning it round on us. And I don't know if people saw, because it hasn't exactly been, changed the world, but they have actually launched a campaign to call on us to act on climate change. You know, we have been demonstrating at them for the past decade to do something, and they're just, oh, well, we told you to do something. You know, this is what they've got. So we know that we can't rely on the Tories, because they're not going to implement the sort of collective action, the collective solutions that we actually need. And the thing is, it's not in many ways actually all that hard. We all know what needs to happen. We need green energy infrastructure. We need public transport. You know, these things aren't actually beyond the wit of man to implement. But the reason why they can't is because what they're for is for generating profit, is for working through the market. And the market will not deliver those sorts of solutions. So, okay, so the question really is, well, how do we get a government that's committed to neoliberalism to deliver collective solutions which actually require quite a lot of nationalisation of the energy sector, of transport and so on? And the thing is, we can't wait to elect another government. We know this. We haven't got time to wait for the electoral process to deliver us a team that will actually consider those things. So what we have to be doing is building the mass movement. And this is why, again, I think meetings like this are so helpful, because this is part of building that mass movement that can force the government into doing things that need to be done but they don't want to do. And I think, as other people have said, this absolutely has to be a working class movement, which is why it's so important that we recognise that this is part of the fight against austerity. This is part of the fight for the working class. It can't be a movement against working class people. It has to be a movement that includes the working class people, that is based on working class people. Because the Tories are actually trying to position themselves as the defenders of working class people against climate activists. And if you've seen, they've had some press releases recently where they've talked about, oh, we'll defend your freedom to eat what you like, and we'll defend your lifestyle. You know, they're trying to divide our movement by saying that actually it's not in working class people's interests to deal with the climate crisis. And we have to be the ones who are saying, no, this is actually a working class issue, and we will We need to build a united mass movement that will fight for collective solutions to the climate crisis, to the crisis of capitalism, to the COVID crisis, to the entire shit show that capitalism has got us into. We have to be building one united movement against all of this. There's a working class movement that is all of us standing together. So thank you very much for coming. It's great to see you all.